Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Andrew. So today we are going to talk about, is there anything that can be done to help this entitlement issue when it comes to pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers? Now, I gave you a couple of anecdotes in the last video. There are a lot of things I didn't touch on in this subject. I want this series to be a fairly quick series about entitlement, so I don't want to go too much into detail, and I am going to hit other parts of this later. But there has been definitely an increase of entitlement on the roads. Look at the road rage incidents. Look at even just things like I don't have to signal because I'm in a left turn lane. I don't know if that's technically, that could just be laziness of not wanting to flick this, but you're assuming that everyone knows you're turning left. Which, you know, just turn your damn signal on. What effort? Whoa, too much. I know, for a lot of drivers these days, that's too much. But this video specifically is about how do you overcome that in that specific area of pedestrian, cyclists, and drivers. Well, I looked up how you overcome entitlement, and I actually got a little depressed about it. Basically, if there is an entitled person, they must overcome it themselves. There's no real way of anyone else overcoming it for them or helping them overcome it. And that's a bit of a problem because an entitled person doesn't realize that they're entitled generally. But in general, things that will help you overcome a sense of entitlement are things like treat others the way you would want to be treated. Recognizing that not all situations are unfair, and even if a situation is unfair, understanding that that doesn't mean you automatically deserve something more because it was unfair. I actually think that most of life is unfair to most people. That being said, those people don't automatically deserve anything for that. They just have to work at gaining everything that they have. A big one for overcoming a sense of entitlement is respect. You have to respect other people. I'm going to hit on that a lot in this series. And you have to learn from your mistakes. All things, unfortunately, that entitled people tend not to be able to do because they're entitled. Now, some can, and some can become, less entitled. I had a friend at one point who was very entitled, and then certain things happened, and he had to kind of look at himself and be like, "Do I really want to be like this?" Just as he looked at himself, said, "Do I really want to be like this? No, I can be a better person." Other people are like, "Of course I should be like this. I deserve to be like this, and I am the best." So it depends on the person. So that is a little depressing when it comes to entitlement. But I do think there are things that we can do as a society. Obviously, respect is a big one. But we as people are less entitled people, because I think everyone has a little level of entitlement, in some cases more than others. But I think we as people almost have, I wouldn't say a duty, but we have to work together in order for a country or a society or whatever you want to call it to work, to flow, to all the gears have to be oiled. It has to run efficiently. Understand, if you're a driver, if you're driving a car, which is the smallest vehicle on the road other than like bikes and stuff, you're driving 4,000 pounds on average, a little more actually, of metal, glass, plastic. That could do a lot of damage, at the very least, to people in other cars. That could do a lot of damage to cyclists. That could do a lot of damage to people walking, all that stuff. You have to be responsible when you're behind the wheel, or you should be. or you should have to be responsible, in my opinion. For pedestrians, realize that even though, yes, they should stop for you, cars versus pedestrians, who's going to win that meeting if the two collide? Is it going to be the car that wins, or is it going to be the pedestrian? And if you're that pedestrian, do you want to be, I wouldn't want to be hit by the car. So personally, if there's any doubt in my mind of a car stopping or not, I stop and I wait and I see, because it's better that way. I actually just had an incident today where a guy wasn't paying overly a lot of attention. He was about to turn right. The light was red for him, but he was going to do a rolling stop through the light, which a lot of people do, which is not a stop, by the way. And didn't really check for pedestrians walking. He saw me. I saw that he was still rolling, so I stopped. Say his car was here, I stopped back here so that even if he did go, I wouldn't get hit by him. And he realized I was there, hit the brakes. And actually, what was nice was my bad, dude. I'm sorry about it. And you know what? At that point, I'm like, okay, he realizes, and I'm like, you're good. I didn't get hit. Nothing happened. You're good. Don't worry about it. And that's another thing. We need to realize also that not everyone is perfect. And, people will make stupid mistakes. When I have driven in the past, God knows I've made stupid mistakes. Everyone does. So be aware that, maybe there's something distracting them. Maybe they haven't checked. You as a pedestrian need to be as aware of that as you as a driver do looking for pedestrians. You can't come from an attitude of, well, he's just going to stop. Because what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't stop? That's the big problem. And I have literally seen people hit because they've assumed that people are going to stop for them, and they just don't. They just can't stop in time, for instance. So when it comes to cyclists, so in my city, a lot of the sidewalks, there's a nice amount of grass that what I believe should happen is I believe that most of the bike paths should be removed from the side of the road. I believe it should go onto that grass boulevard, but it should be separated from the sidewalk, and it should be specifically labeled for cyclists only. If there is an area of the city where there is not enough room for that, I believe it should still be on the road. However, there should be some sort of divider, except for where cars have to turn right or left or whatever, separating those cyclists from those cars. Right now, it's a very dangerous situation, and I can understand why cyclists want to cycle on the sidewalks. I get that. So let's take that out of the equation. Let's give them their own path, separated from everyone else. Then we don't have to worry about it. Are there still going to be interactions? Yes, but they're going to be a lot less, and it's going to be a lot less dangerous for everyone involved. That being said, cyclists, if you're on the road, you have to follow the rules of the road as much as anyone else. That does not mean you can cross a road because there's no cars coming and the light is red. That's not what that means. That means you wait for that light like everyone else should. I don't understand the amount of cyclists that think, oh, well, I'm just going to cross now. I think I can beat that car coming, and then the car's actually going faster than they think, and there's an issue. And again, is your bicycle and your head, hitting the curb worth not waiting? Because let's think about what we're talking about here in reality. Let's say someone wants to cross the road before the light turns. How long is that light going to take to turn? Maybe 2 minutes if it's a fairly busy intersection going into a quieter area. Maybe 2 minutes. If that 2 minutes is going to affect your life so bad that you need to cross that road, leave 2 minutes earlier, or maybe leave 10 minutes earlier, and then you've got lots to spare in case you have to cross another light. I don't understand these people that it has to be, I get why it's happening, because, we live in this world of we must hurry, and that's a big issue as well. But we do not really need to save 3 seconds by potentially putting ourselves into danger. It just doesn't make sense. Now, that being said, I'm not a perfect person. I jaywalk too. Generally, when I go get groceries, it's later at night, just because that's when I'm free in my schedule that I can actually go out for a little bit of time and go to the grocery store. And later at night, the place that I have to cross, I either have to wait at a crosswalk for probably 2 minutes, or just walk down the street and cross right in front of the grocery store. Generally, there aren't a lot of cars coming. I might have to wait a little bit, but it is faster to do that. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else. I'm just as guilty as everyone else doing that. But for instance, I was there the one night and there were cars starting to come, and a person misjudged how far the cars were, and instead of me waiting for them to pass, because there were only 2 cars coming in that direction, and then we could have gotten to the median. No, he decided he was going to beat the cars, except the cars beat him and had to stop before him, and so what's 2 seconds? If you don't get your food 2 seconds earlier, you're going to starve. Give me a break, guys. And this brings me to drivers. This one is difficult. There needs to be a lot more onus on drivers to do the right thing. I get that that's not helpful in this situation, unfortunately, because entitled people aren't going to feel that way, and they're just going to do what they want because they're entitled. Just remember that story about the BMW driver that just drove through stop signs because he thought, no, I should be able to drive through stop signs. It's my way, and I can keep doing it. So the only thing you can really do then, I think there's a couple things actually you can do. I would question, resource allocation though, and that's a problem too. You can try to enforce more rules on the road. As police officers, you would need more of a presence. You would need more officers to be able to do this. My city actually is one of the only cities in Ontario, I believe, that the police don't give tickets for driving too close to the person in front of them. So I notice actually when I'm driving in my city versus when I'm driving in other cities, not that I drive a lot, but I do sometimes, I notice a big difference, because in those cities they give you that space, because if they don't give you that space, they get tickets. That in and of itself, although that's less of an entitlement issue, although it can be depending on why that driver is riding right on your bumper, it at least increases safety. They have enough room, or they have more room where they can stop quickly if they need to. And you don't have to worry about a 10-car pileup, because everyone in my city is riding the bumper. So if the person in front slams on their brake, everyone hits. So I think that could be a thing. The problem with that is then you have the argument of, well, should the police be preventing, murders or dealing with, that type of thing, or should they be enforcing traffic laws? Personally, I think it's a combination of both, obviously. I would have to figure out how much of each would be needed. I would be okay in increasing the police force. I get it. That means more taxes. I get that means other issues as well. But I do believe that is the way to go for that. I also believe that people should have to have a test every 10 years. We'll say every 10 years in order to maintain their license. So right now in Ontario, you can get your G1. You take a written test and you get your G1 license. Then in a year, or if you take an accredited driving school, 8 months, I believe. Yeah, 8 months. Yeah. You can take your G1 exit, which gets you to your G2. After a year of experience, including driving on highways and freeways and whatnot, you can then take your G2 exit to get your G. Your G is your main license, and you do not have to be retested again until you get to 80, at which point you have to start taking you have to start taking driving tests again to ensure that you are still able to drive. In that time frame, a lot of people develop a lot of bad habits, and there are people in that time frame that really should not be driving that still are. For instance, that guy who thinks you can blast through a stop sign. Now, I'm not saying that these tests would weed out the majority of people, because even entitled people, I think, would probably tone down their behaviors and do the right thing while they're driving the test. But at least then they would have to think about, hey, this is what I have to do, this is what I should be doing. And I still believe there would be some people that take the test, are completely entitled, drive through the stop sign, and then argue with the instructor that no, they were totally able to do that. So it would weed out probably the worst of the worst, which in and of itself wouldn't be a horrible thing. I get, again, that's something you would have to pay for, that test. But at least then people would have to be refreshed on what the actual rules of the road are, not what they think the actual rules of the road are. So maybe something like that. I don't know. If you have any other ideas, let me know in the comments below. But that's it for this video. I hope you have a good one.